So you want to join the Marines? Well, let's take a look at how your journey will go and how you'll rise through the ranks. You're probably going to start as a chore boy, where your duties will be chores. That's what chore boys do. But don't worry, because you'll probably be promoted to seaman fairly fast. This is where you get your standard Marine uniform and serve as rank and file soldier for the cause. There are 3 ranks of seamen: recruit, apprentice, and first class. They're all roughly the same, just with minor increases in responsibility as you climb the ranks. From here, you'll be promoted to petty officer, the 15th highest rank in the Marines, and the first rank where you're allowed to wear civilian clothing. This is also the first rank where you're likely to have command over other Marines. Following petty officer, there's chief petty officer and master chief petty officer, which again are very similar, just with minor increases in responsibility. Warrant officer is the highest non-commissioned officer rank and your next step in the ladder. It's also the first rank where you're allowed to start wearing the word justice on your clothes. Your next promotion will be to ensign, the 11th highest rank of the Marines and the first of the commissioned officer ranks. From there, you'll be promoted to the lieutenant ranks, starting with lieutenant junior grade, going to lieutenant, and finally lieutenant commander. Lieutenant commander also happens to be the rank of the lowest known ranked member of Sword, Helmeppo. From there, you'll be promoted to commander. One notable commander is Donquixote Rosinante, who went undercover in the Donquixote family. After commander, you'll be promoted to captain, and this is where true authority is granted to you. Captains are often put in charge of entire Marine bases, such as the one in Shellstown commanded by Axehand Morgan. But despite that, commodores still rank above them, and if you prove yourself as a commodore, you may even be granted extra responsibility, like Branu here, who assigns bounties to pirates. And if you're good enough for a promotion, you'll be brought up to rear admiral status, which is the minimum rank required to even bear witness to the 5 elders. And if you truly prove yourself, whether through exceptional strength or incredible leadership, you may be promoted to vice admiral. Once you've made it here, you're truly one of the best Marines there is, possibly even good enough to be promoted to admiral. There's only ever 3 admirals at a time, so you have to be truly exceptional to make it here. You have to be the best of the best. But if you're the best of the best of the best, then you may even become fleet admiral, the guy who's in charge of the entirety of the Marines and the highest ranking member within their structure. And from there, after a long illustrious career, you're probably gonna end up retired, like Sengoku, who's technically still part of the Marines as an inspector general. But who do you hand that resignation to? Well, that would be your other career option following fleet admiral, the commander-in-chief of the entire world government, who's currently Kong. We have no idea what he actually does, only that he has authority over everything, second only to the 5 elders and celestial dragons themselves. Of course, you could always just skip all the worrying about ranks and join the Marines as a non-combat role like a doctor or a nurse, but where's the fun in that? So you want to join Baroque Works? Well, let's see how you'll rise through the ranks. You'll start off as one of the millions. This is the most expendable you'll ever be, and you're pretty much just a generic foot soldier. And while you're in millions, you may even be stationed at a place like Whiskey Peak, where you focus primarily on fundraising efforts. After some time, you'll be promoted to be one of the billions. Here you'll be doing grunt work, but slightly higher priority grunt work. When it comes time for your next promotion, you'll be made a frontier agent. You're basically going to be a billions who's in charge of the other billions. If you're a woman, your codename will be changed to a day of the week between Saturday and Thursday, and if you're a man, you'll be given a number between 6 and 12, with Friday and number 13 being reserved for the unluckies, the internal affairs and surveillance group. Your next promotion will be to an officer agent. This is the inner circle of Baroque Works, and you're not going to make it this far without some sort of special ability, whether that be from a devil fruit or just something you can do. Here the men are numbered 1 through 5, and their partners are given codenames based on holidays. And when you're an officer agent, you'll be answering to Miss All Sunday, the second in command of Baroque Works and the highest ranking member of the company out there openly in the field. But of course, your real boss and the head of the company will be Mr. Zero, who prefers to keep his identity a secret. It's Crocodile of the 7 Warlords of the Sea. Oh, and just a warning, the only way you're going to be moving up in this company is through fatality-based vacancies. So you want to be a pirate? Well, let's take a look at how your journey on the seas might end up. Your journey might start with you in an apprentice role, where you sail on a ship from a young age, learning as you go on the seas. That is, of course, unless you get rejected by your idol a few dozen times, in which case you might start your own rookie crew. Now, your crew here is probably going to be fairly small, pretty weak, and in all likelihood sailing around one of the cardinal blues. But that's okay, because you can still make a name for yourself and achieve your next milestone, your first bounty. Some pirates, like Monkey D. Luffy, manage to get fairly sizable bounties before even leaving their home seas. And if you're anything like him, leaving your home sea is mandatory, because you have to make a name for yourself on the Grand Line. The Grand Line is the sea that spans the entire globe, and this is where most pirate crews will gain a majority of their infamy. And if you're a really strong pirate and manage to gain a bounty of over 100 million before the halfway point, you'll be considered a super rookie. From here, the rest of your career will be spent gaining notoriety, just like the infamous Worst Generation. But if the government thinks you'll be cooperative while you're on their radar, they might offer you a position as one of the Warlords of the Sea. As a warlord, your bounty will be cancelled and the government won't pursue you, which honestly means you can get away with a lot. But if you want true freedom, the current pinnacle of the pirating world is the 4 Emperors of the Sea, who each hold territory and might strong enough to rival the world government itself. Of course, even if you managed to become one of the 4 Emperors, there was still one man in history who managed to make it even higher than that. Gold Roger, the king of the pirates. Wealth, fame, power, he attained this and everything else the world had to offer, and he left all of his treasure in one place. And if you want to be the next king of the pirates, you're gonna have to be the one that finds it at the end of the Grand Line. Of course, that's also assuming you don't get scooped up by a rival crew in a davy-back fight before even making it halfway across the Grand Line, but that's the risk you've gotta take. So you want to join the Beast Pirates? Well, let's take a look at how your journey will go and how you'll rise through the ranks. You'll start as a waiter. Here your status will be signified by the lack of horns on your outfit. And while you're in this rank, you'll be a low-level foot soldier who does patrols and grunt work. But what exactly are you waiting for as a waiter? Well, that would be the opportunity to eat a smile fruit. And from here, you have two outcomes. You have a 90% chance of becoming a pleasure. This is what happens when you eat a defective smile, and it essentially robs you of the ability to express all emotion except for smiling and happiness. Here, your status will be signified by the single horn on your head, and it pretty much relegates you to a life of grunt work where you'll be treated as very expendable. But you do have a 10% chance of becoming a gifter and being bestowed powers by your smile fruit. And your smile fruit power may range from something super useful, like just getting extra limbs, to something horrible, like being stuck in the mouth of a two-legged hippo that has its own thoughts and feelings. But if you get a good one, you may end up as a Mary. These are the surveillance force of the Beast Pirates HQ, and they're all cyborgs who can broadcast their voices or share their vision with one another. If you do end up with a smile power, the furthest up in the hierarchy you're likely to get is Headliner. These are the lowest level officers and the 4th highest rank in the Beast Pirates. But becoming a Headliner does mean you have a decent amount of influence in the Beast Pirates. Some Headliners are even put in charge of forces like the Numbers, a group of artificial ancient giants. But let's say you came into the Beast Pirates already having a Devil Fruit power. Well, if that Devil Fruit lets you turn into a dinosaur, then you may have a shot at joining the Toby Ropo, the 3rd highest rank in the Beast Pirates. Granted, you don't have to turn into a dinosaur. Who's Who turns into a cat. Your next promotion would come from earning the highest level of trust Kaido has, the All-Stars. These three are the top level officers of the Beast Pirates. And frankly, they're not giving up their positions anytime soon, so good luck getting that promotion. But if you somehow do, you'll be answering to the Governor General of the Beast Pirates himself, the strongest creature in the world, Emperor Kaido. And again, this is all assuming you don't hit the 90% chance of losing the ability to do anything but smile. So you want to join the Big Mom Pirates? Well, let's see how you'll rise through the ranks. There are multiple starting points here, and your first possible one is as an affiliate crew. You'll still technically be part of the family via political marriage, either to the captain or a high-ranking officer on the crew, and you'll cap out of the ranks of Knight, Rook, and Bishop. Here you'll do things like collect taxes from Big Mom territories, be part of security details for high-level events, and be sent out on missions of a more personal nature, if you catch my understanding. But if you really want to be a high-ranking officer in the crew, you have to start as one of Big Mom's children. And as an added perk, all of Big Mom's children are given one of her Viver cards, and these allow for control over all of the homies that she creates. And when you get old enough, you'll be made an officer, where you'll be able to attend strategy meetings, have your own subordinates, and generally have more responsibility on the crew. Prove yourself as an officer, and you'll be made one of Totoland's ministers. Here you'll be in charge of one of the 34 islands that make up Big Mom's primary territory, each corresponding to a different ingredient or concept in cooking. Some notable examples would be Daifuku, the minister of beans, and Oven, the minister of browned food. But if you become one of the strongest out of your siblings, you'll be made one of the Sweet Generals. There's no limit on how many Sweet Generals there can be. There was formerly 4, but now only 3, the current strongest of which is Katakuri. But of course, no matter where you start or what path you take, you'll be answering to the matriarch of the crew, Big Mom herself. She's kind of terrifying and can steal your soul, so don't make her too upset. So you want to join Cipher Pol? Well, let's take a look at how you'll rise through the ranks. You'll start off as a regular Cipher Pol agent for Cipher Pols 1 through 8. Here your existence will be known to the public, though you will sometimes do covert intelligence work. Do good enough and you'll be promoted to the chief of your Cipher Pol unit. Here you'll be in charge of coordinating and planning your intelligence missions. Over the course of your career, you'll be taught the 6 powers, special martial arts that allow for superhuman abilities. And if you manage to get a good grip on all of them, you might even be recruited to Cipher Pol number 9, whose existence isn't known to the public and does Black Ops assassin work. Of course, if your leadership skills are good enough or you have enough nepotism connections, you don't need to know the 6 powers to be the chief of CP9. Here you'll be in charge of coordinating that Black Ops assassin group. And if you're really the cream of the crop, you'll be recruited to Cipher Pol 0. Here you'll work directly under the world nobles securing their interests, and as a nice bonus, you get to wear white instead of black. And when you prove yourself at CP0, you'll become a masked assassin, where you're given a mask that shows that you're one of the most dangerous agents in the entire government. Prove yourself valuable enough and you may even be promoted to the chief of Cipher Pol 0, whose identity is currently unknown, but my money's on the pigeon. Well, that is all assuming you don't get crushed by a centaur on your first day at CP9. So you want to join the Revolutionary Army? Well, let's take a look at how you might rise through the ranks. For starters, you need a reason to join the Revolutionary Army, which means statistically speaking, you're either a slave or have witnessed horrible acts of slavery. Not exactly the easiest start to the journey, but hey, at least now you can try to make a difference. Plus, who knows? You could have even just started as a regular civilian that fought alongside them when they were the only ones offering protection. But when you actually join, you'll start as a recruit, and we don't actually know a lot about the structure of the Revolutionary Army, so here it's likely that you end up as some sort of foot soldier helping the cause. But hey, if you prove yourself, you might even become an officer, like these two, Koala and Hack. Here you'll be sent on special missions, help train recruits, and generally have a higher amount of responsibility and independence. Your next increase in rank will be as a deputy commander for one of the 5 armies, North, South, East, West, or G, for Grand Line. Here you'll be the second in command for your region and help coordinate and lead battles that take place in your sea. But I'll be honest, no matter how much you prove yourself, you're probably going to cap out at Army Commander. These are the guys that actually lead each of the 5 armies. And that's because the next highest rank that we know of is Chief of Staff, which is held pretty solidly by Sabo. You'll likely fight alongside him in special missions though. But Sabo's only the number 2 of the Revolutionary Army, and if he's out of the picture, there is still one guy that you report to. The Supreme Commander and one of the founders of the Revolutionary Army, the world's worst criminal, Monkey D. Dragon. He's actually pretty chill and generally spends a lot of time doing paperwork and other important leadership duties. Oh, and just a warning, a lot of these promotions are going to be difficult to get because people in the Revolutionary Army hold onto their titles until they die or retire, no matter how long they're missing for. So you want to be a jailer at Impel Down? Well, let's see how your journey will go and how you'll rise through the ranks. You'll start off as just a regular guard, doing guard duty. If you're lucky, this will mean you're just on surveillance duty or helping with prisoner intake. And if you're unlucky, this means you're going to be on patrol in some of the most hostile environments mankind can create. If you do a noteworthy job, you'll be promoted to Chief Guard. Here you'll be in charge of one of Impel Down's offensive forces. The current Chief Guards are Saldeth, who's in charge of the Blue Guerrilla forces, and Sadie, who's in command of Impel Down's jailer beasts. Your next promotion will be to the head jailer class, starting as a vice head jailer. Here you'll have authority over all lower ranks and help out with things like prisoner intake or welcoming visitors. Your next promotion will be to vice warden. Here you'll have authority over pretty much the entirety of Impel Down, and whenever strong prisoners act up, it's going to be your job to go take care of them. But if you want absolute authority, you're going to have to wait until you're promoted to chief warden. Here your word is law within the prison's walls. The current chief warden is Hannibal, after a massive breakout left the previous chief warden demoted to vice warden. And unless a similar situation happens again, if you want this position, you're going to have to be pretty much the strongest guy in Impel Down, including the prisoners. Of course, this is all assuming you don't break the rules and wind up locked in level 6 for eternity. So you want to be a samurai? Well, let's see how your journey will go. You'll start off as a follower, and not a like and subscribe kind of follower, the borderline stalker kind of follower. But if you can get some training and convince the guy you're following to take you in, you'll be a retainer. Here you're basically just an on-call warrior for whatever your new boss needs. This will also officially elevate you to the status of samurai, which now is a good moment to point out that samurai in the land of Wano just refers to the warrior social class, not necessarily people with swords. In fact, there are many in the samurai class that use completely different weapons or even practice ninjutsu, so you've actually got a lot of options to get here. The highest the average samurai will get is serving under a daimyo, one of the heads of each of Wano's regions. While it is technically possible to become a daimyo, it's largely a hereditary position, so really the only way to do it is if the current daimyo leaves no heirs. The same also goes for the position of shogun, the head of the entire country. Even in the event that the current shogun leaves no heirs, you'll still have to prove yourself as leader to make it here. Of course, that is also assuming someone doesn't beat you to the punch with a decades-long coup plot, but what are the odds of that happening twice? So you want to join the Donquixote family? Well, let's see how you'll rise through the ranks. You'll start off as just a member. Here you'll be doing a lot of low-level grunt work, like running casinos, overseeing the toy workers at the underground docks, doing targeted hits, or if you're really trusted, possibly a more important role like security for the Smile Factory. Gain enough trust and you'll be promoted to an executive. Here you'll be sorted into one of 4 groups. If you have a special ability that makes for good tactical use, you'll be sorted into the treble group. If you're a strong fighter and a real heavy hitter, you'll be sorted into the Diamante group. And if you're an absolute commando, you'll be in the Pika group. There's also the Corazon group, but they're off on a secret mission right now, so you don't need to worry about that. If there happens to be a vacant seat and you earn the pinnacle of trust within the family, you'll be made a top executive. Here you'll be given a new code name based off the previous 4 groups, which you will now be in charge of. You'll also be given special assignments, like being the security detail for important members, or something more broad, like running the operations at the Kurita Coliseum. No matter what your job is, you'll be answering to one man, Joker, the head of the family, king of Dressrosa, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, the heavenly demon Don Quixote do Flamingo. But if I'm being entirely honest, it's unlikely you'll even become an executive because all the current executives have literally been there since the start of the Don Quixote family. So you want to join the Holy Knights? Well, let's see how your journey will go and how you'll rise through the ranks. For starters, to even be considered, you're just gonna have to be special in some way. Whether that's because you have influence that can be taken advantage of, or you're the child of a prominent world noble, you're not gonna be getting anywhere without being noticed. And even if you are noticed, you're still gonna have to earn trust and build strength, running missions for the government before they even consider adding you to their ranks. But when they do, you'll be made a devoted blade of God and given a Shallow's Covenant. This is the lowest rank of Holy Knight, and you'll essentially be on call whenever they need you. Though you are still allowed to go about your daily life in the lower world whenever you're not on mission. And when the time comes for your next promotion, you'll be made a Knight of God and given a Depths Covenant. This connects you directly to the secret ruler of the world, making it so you can't refuse any orders. You'll also be given a plethora of superhuman abilities like immortality, regeneration, and the ability to be summoned by your superiors through an abyssal pentagram, even when you're not dressed. But the catch here is that only 13 deeper covenants can exist at once, so it's very difficult to attain attain this or higher ranks. That said, become strong enough and you'll be made a commander, the second highest level of authority within the Holy Knights. Here you'll still be sent out on missions, but you'll have a high level of command over your fellow Holy Knights. Do your job well enough and you may even be promoted to Supreme Commander, the highest level of Holy Knight there is, who also solves affairs within Marie Joie's borders. The identity of the current Supreme Commander is Figerland Garling, a man who proved himself during the God Valley incident. But of course, even as Supreme Commander, you still answer to the 5 Elders, one of whom's position you may even take if they need replacing. Also, at some point while rising through the ranks, you'll likely be given an Abyss Covenant, the deepest level of Covenant, though we currently have no idea what that actually entails or when it would actually be given to you. And of course, these covenants are all granted by your true boss, Emu, the secret king of the world. Of course, this is all assuming you don't have the moral backbone or foresight to tell them no when they try to recruit you, because they are kind of evil.